IVM.
Do you often dream about leading a more creative life? Whether you wanted to be a painter, a dancer, a cricketer, or a photographer. Maybe you wanted to play games for a living. Growing up, financial responsibilities often take us away from our true passions. Now imagine if you could explore that creativity while still making sure that your family is financially secure. Find a way for the artist and the realist within us to coexist. करो पूरे अपने इरादे, अपनों से किए सभी वादे. SBI Life अपने लिए, अपनों के लिए. To know more about our insurance plans with wealth creation, log on to www.sbilife.co.in. IRDAI registration number 111.
Hi, I'm Utsav, a behavior researcher by training and a slow traveler by passion. Postcards from Nowhere is a travel podcast where I condense a decade of travel experiences and explore not just the where, but also the why and how to travel. My stories emerge from slow traveling the less explored parts of the world: Bosnia and Herzegovina, Armenia, Uzbekistan, and even China. At the end of each story, I give practical tips and new ideas about how to travel better. This week, we traveled from Indonesia to India to Netherlands and traced the violent and erotic history of a spice that went on to leave an indelible mark on world cuisine. A mixture of the roots of barley and sali rice, the fruit of mountain pomegranate, mace and man's urine, mixed with the roots of ficus tree and the giant potatoes, mixed with the decoction of ficus seeds, cluster figs, intoxicating bajra, or mixed with the decoction of palash flowers, is an intoxicating preparation. Concoction number 16, Chapter 1. Secret Practices for the Destruction of Enemy Troops. The author puts his knowledge of botanicals to work in the service of statecraft. This is not some obscure text written by an eccentric, unhinged military commander or a traditional medicine man. This is from the Arthashastra, written by Kautilya. It's a detailed manual of politics and administration at the court of Chandragupta Maurya. According to legend, Kautilya became instrumental in destroying the power of the previous dynasty, the Nandas. Around 321 BC, he helped to place Chandragupta on the throne of the Magad kingdom with its capital, Patliputra. Meanwhile, in the 5th century AD, philosopher Bhartrhari wrote an unusual book, a trifold collection of Sanskrit poetry about politics, erotic passion, and renunciation. The book came to be known as Sringara Sataka, or 100 Verses of Love. Dressed like a girl in fiery passion, diffusing the fragrance of Jati Puspa, and bearing heavy swollen clouds, autumnal rains arouse any man's lust. These lines describe how nature conspired with Kama, the god of love, to create a yearning in men. But what is Jati Puspa? The ambiguity inherent in Jati as jasmine or nutmeg could evoke in the listener multiple sensations. These were both memorized and imagined, like the scent and image of the well-known jasmine flowers, but also those of the imaginary flower of the nutmeg tree, as well as the flavor of mace. Around the same time, when Kautilya was employing the Arthashastra to put Chandragupta Maurya on the throne, a nutmeg fruit fell on the ground around the banks of the Sarayu River in eastern Uttar Pradesh. In the 20th century, carbonized remains of that nutmeg were found at Khadira in the Balia district of eastern UP. It was stratigraphically assigned to the early phase of the northern black polished ware culture around 700 to 200 BC. It was the hallmark of Mauryan pottery. Khairadi lies along an ancient travel and trade route that led from Patliputra to the Lumbini area in today's Nepal. Similarly, around Ludhiana, another carbonized nutmeg was found in the ashy deposits inside the altar of a religious complex of the Kusana period from 100 to 300 AD. But why are we talking about Arthashastra, Sringara Sataka, nutmeg and mace? Because before the 18th century, every single nutmeg and every shred of mace originated in or around a tiny cluster of islands at the far southeastern end of the Indian Ocean. Hence, any mention of nutmeg and mace before the 1700s automatically establishes a link with these islands. They are sometimes referred to as the Great Banda Islands, even though the largest island is just 2.5 miles in length and half a mile in width. In Chinese texts, those mentions date back to 1st century BC, and in Latin text in 1st century AD. It irrevocably establishes trade links between India and Southeast Asia, much earlier than initially estimated. But something happened on the night of April 21st, 1621, that changed the course of history. The Europeans had been trading nutmeg and mace with the Arabs for centuries, but were hell-bent on finding the direct source. And they had good reason to do so. In the 16th century, the value of nutmeg soared when doctors in England decided that the spice could be used to cure the plague, epidemics of which were sweeping through Europe and Asia. In the late Middle Ages, nutmegs became so valuable in Europe that a handful of them could buy a house or ship. The Dutch East India Company was trying to negotiate a treaty with the Bandanese, aiming to secure a trading monopoly on nutmeg. The Bandanese were simply not interested in a monopoly trade, since that is not how trade was done in the Indian Ocean. The Dutch, who considered themselves superior to the natives, did not kindly take to this stance. On April 21st, 1621, they attacked the islands and massacred the Bandanese, with the aim of completely wiping off their population. They succeeded, and a lucky few Bandanese fled to the neighboring island of Malukan. The names of the villages there evoke the lost homeland, and their inhabitants still speak Turvandan, the Banda language. Their songs and stories bring to life not just the Banda mountain, but also its blessing, the nutmeg. We weep and weep, when on what day, get on your way. We pearls of wisdom, the fruits of nutmeg have died. She sends a letter so we may speak. Pearls of wisdom, fruits of nutmeg have died. Pearls of wisdom, the nutmegs have died. There is no faith here. There is no blessing inside this island. Once a proud and enterprising trading community, they ceased to exist as a people in a span of less than 10 weeks. Many years later, after the Bandanese had been cut off from the face of the earth, Anglo-Dutch rivalries would once again link the fate of the Bandas to the Dutch. In 1667, the Treaty of Breda transferred one of the smallest islands of the Banda, called Run, permanently to the Dutch. It was part of a wider settlement that also included the handing over of the Dutch colony of New Amsterdam. This went on to become what we know today as New York and Manhattan. Nutmeg and mace became tireless travelers over time and left their indelible influence around the cuisines of the world. Closer home in India, Hyderabadi cuisine uses nutmeg and mace in a dessert called Badam Kand, made of almonds and flavored with nutmeg, mace, green cardamom, and saffron. The Lucknowi arhar dal contains nutmeg and mace along with cardamom, curd, and raisins. They are also used as a principal flavor in Salmani kebab, a minced lamb kebab with a hint of crushed sesame seeds. In fact, any korma from Lucknow also has top notes of nutmeg and fennel. But even if you have had none of these dishes, and even if these spices do not have a distinct place in your kitchen, there is one dish where their impact is unmissable. My personal favorite, the biryani. Both nutmeg and mace are essential ingredients in any biryani masala. There is, however, one key difference in how the Europeans and the Western countries use nutmeg in their cooking. They predominantly use it in desserts. The warm, soft, sweet smell goes well with milk puddings, apple and pumpkin pies, French toasts, and spiced carrot cakes. The virulence of the nutmeg in Arthashastra, the eroticism in Shringar Sataka, the violence in the Banda Islands, the nuttiness in the Indian cuisine, and the sweetness in Western cuisine. The many avatars of nutmeg have cemented its place the world over. As we hopefully recover from the pandemic, make some time for yourself and reconnect with your many avatars. You are the tiny nutmeg, which holds all the flavor in the world. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IBM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am Utsav Memory on Twitter and YVTravel42 on Instagram.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Storytellers and Storytellers, Vineet talks to Aparna aka Rogstream and Kangana aka Mystic Ignite, two of India's most popular gaming streamers who are taking over the internet. The conversation takes us through their growth journeys as female gamers and how they overcame trolling. On Smarter with Sid, Sid talks about the new Netflix documentary on Kanye West, Genius. Sid also talks about the hustle that Kanye went through and tells us about 3 things that we can learn from him. On the Musafir Stories podcast, we have a returning guest, Anirudh Kanisetti. He discusses Elora and his debut book, Lords of the Deccan. Congratulations so much to Anirudh. Anirudh's been a podcaster with us for numerous years. We're so happy for him. This is a great book. You should definitely check it out. Do check out Anirudh's show as well, Echoes of India, and he's done another show called Yuddha. And on Cock and Bull, Cyrus is joined by comedians Naveen Narona and Shreyas Manohar. They discuss the new Commissioner of Mumbai and his announcements. They talk about the new rules for passport verification and how China has announced a lockdown again. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Also, don't forget to rate us on any platform that you might be listening to us. You can also check us out on YouTube. We have a webpage, ivmpodcast.com/YouTube, where a list of all our channels are. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, SBI Life Insurance, Bank of Baroda, India Water Portal, and Max Life Insurance. Thank you so much for making this possible.
We know you love fast food,
Fast fashion,
faster payment.
lightning fast internet speed.
Then why not fast information?
On Think Fast, where we discuss the latest developments in the world of technology, business, marketing, pop culture.
With a side of sarcasm and my dad jokes, not just mine.
Not mine, Varun. My jokes are funny. So join me, guys, the funnier one, Suchita Salvan, co-founder of LBB.
And me, Varun Dugirala, the co-founder of The Glitch, as we think fast only on the IVM network.
Fresh episodes out every Monday.
On the IVM app, website, or wherever you get your podcast from.